Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're talking about a very interesting character that has released for the Treasure Map batch against the film Gold Celebration, that is Ray's Max. This funny little fella from the film Gold movie, I believe it was from film Gold, has some very unique effects. And in today's video, we're going to break down exactly what those effects do and what they actually are. If you guys want to read it for yourself, head over to the OPTC database. Huge shout out to Solaris. I will leave a link in the description below. But this character is so unique because this character does a whole bunch of different stuff depending on particular circumstances that you have on your crew. Depending on your captain type, depending on the character's orb, depending on what HP you have, depending on what support character type you have. Yes, this character can do all of these depending on the various effects that the character's type is, the character's support character's type. There's a lot of different stuff that this particular unit can do, and you can build teams with this guy very uniquely because of this particular ability. Honestly, this particular character is almost making me want to summon because of how unique and versatile this character actually is. So, let's break it down. He's a driven / a quick unit, and his captain ability boosts attack of characters by 3.25 and gives a chance of duplicating a drop upon completion of the island. So, stock standard stuff. Very, very interesting. Captain ability, dropping, but he does have a very interesting special. His Sailor reduces special cooldown by 2 turns when it's rewinded, and then reduces silence by 6 turns. So he has special bind and special rewind removal on himself, which is very, very good. His special, betting for freedom, applies various effects depending on the character's support character's type, captain's type, character's orb, and current HP percentage when the special is activated. So, when your captain is a strength or dex character, he deals 80 times his attack in quick damage to all enemies and applies end of turn damage for 3 turns. Then, if your captain is quick, he reduces cooldowns by all characters by 2 turns. If your captain is Int, he reduces swap cooldown and verse ability special cooldown by 2 turns. This is really good. The swap cooldown and verse special cooldown is really interesting. And this is all just dependent on what captain you have. If you then have a strength, dex, psi, or int orb, so any of the standard orbs, he reduces enemies' corresponding type resistance by 20% for 1 turn. So, if your enemy is strength, then he applies a 20% quick resistance. I believe that's what it means by corresponding type. That, or it means whatever orb you have, he gives that particular resistance. So very interesting stuff depending on if he has a regular orb. If he has a recovery or tandem orb though, he locks all slots for 1 turn and adds a 1.1 times to the chain multiplier for 1 turn, which is crazy. Locking orbs and then adding a 1.1 times to the chain multiplier, which is very interesting. Not a plus, it's a times by what it seems here, as of the database. If you then have a G or a rainbow orb, he reduces enemies' strength, dex, quick, sight, and int resistance by 20%, so all resistance by 20%, and barriers all characters' orbs for 1 great hit. So you get a super orb barrier for 1 great hit, works really, really nicely. Finally, if you have a Semler, block, or super block orb, he increases damage received by 2 times for 3 turns. So he applies the increased damage buff for 3 turns if you have a Semler block or super block, which is really interesting because you can use this and then remove the block orb, which is super nice. So in theory, if you have a strength captain and a strength orb, you're going to get end of turn damage for 3 turns and a strength resistance by 20%. So very interesting stuff. So remember, this character should be able to do all 4 of these depending on where you sit in terms of your HP and all that sort of stuff. When you have 80 to 100% HP, he reduces all damage received by 80% for 1 turn. If you have 80 to 50%, he heals 20,000. If you're 50 to 10%, he completely nullifies damage. And if you're below 10%, he just recovers all your missing HP. So whenever the HP threshold, it's basically got to do with damage reduction and healing. It's kind of nice, but it's just very situational depending on what your HP is. And it's kind of nice that they attached damage reduction and healing to this particular effect. The final thing is that depending on the support character type. So, if your support character is Strength. He boosts the attack of all characters by 2 times for 3 turns. If it's a Dex, it's 2.25 for 2 turns. If it's a Quick, he boosts attack by 2.5 for 1 turn. And if it's Psi, he increases the attack buff by 0.3. If it's an Int, he boosts effects of attack buffs up to 2.5. So he'll just turn whatever attack boost you have into a 2.5 times attack boost. And if you don't have a support effect at all, he boosts orb effects by 2.25 for 2 turns. So if you just don't use a support character, you're going to get an orb boost, which is super interesting. Wano, Empty, and Bomb Orbs are untested. He goes down to 20 turn cooldown with his Limit Break, so he has a very, very high cooldown, and it's understandably why, because this character can do so much. So, as mentioned earlier, in theory, if your captain is quick, Ray's Max has a Rainbow Orb, you're below 50% HP, and your support character is quick, he is then going to give you 2 turns of cooldown, he gives you 20% resistance to all types, and gives you a great barrier for all of your orbs. He then will give you nullified damage, and he boosts the attack of all characters by 2.5 for 1 turn. So, you can do some really, really cool stuff with team building with this character. He seems incredibly interesting. On top of that, he has a nice support on quick characters. Once per adventure, when you reach the final stage, changes orb of supported character and adjacent characters into G orbs. Very interesting stuff there. Very, very nice. And a very, very unique character. I don't really know how much play this guy will see. But as a team builder in OPTC, I really enjoy what they're doing with this guy. I hope they do a little bit more of this moving forward. He seems very, very unique and a character I would love to get my hands on in the future. You'll have to stick around and see if I actually summon for him, because look, I'm on breaking point with this no summon agenda. This batch has really got me going, and when it comes to treasure map, I always like summoning for treasure map characters because they can be so valuable for the event moving forward. But let me know your thoughts and opinions of the character in the comment section below. While you're down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff. Most importantly, wherever you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Later!